We know as educators that when we enter this industry, that we're not coming in for some six-figure salary, we're not coming in for some glorious lifestyle. We know that we are entering this industry to give, but it is extremely heartbreaking to see the state of our system and the state of our schools. I don't love education enough to risk my life for it.
Teachers in the US have felt overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated for decades. It's been common to hear that devotion to their students is really the main thing that makes their jobs worth it.
I started teaching because my educational experience wasn't one where I felt seen or heard. I wanted to be the teacher that I wish I had had in my own primary and secondary education. It is such a passion of mine to be able to introduce someone to a talent that they may not have known that they had, and being able to do that for students and their families, and be able to not only build but nurture relationships that already existed has definitely been my favorite part of that role and any other teaching role that I've had.
That devotion to students might not be enough to motivate teachers anymore. Contentious political issues about things like gun violence, critical race theory, and LGBTQ rights are trickling down into classrooms. It's a delicate environment for teachers to navigate, and not something they necessarily have the tools for.
I know that when I started teaching, Arizona, the state where I was licensed, was going through an ethnic studies ban, and that was the first red flag for me, but it was also my first year of teaching, so I figured, everything's gonna change, it's gonna be wonderful. I entered with bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, gonna change the world. But unfortunately, as the years have passed, we've also seen very difficult political and social situations happening. Well, I know that families want the power and the space to educate their children the way that they would like. But in an academic space, I also have an opportunity and a duty to tell students the black and white of what's happening in the world so that they can critically think.
Frustrations are heightened, and teachers are walking out by the hundreds of thousands. LinkedIn calculated that teachers had quit in June at a 40% higher rate than in June last year. And a Gallup poll in February showed that K-12 educators were the most burned out segment of the US labor force.
I think as educators, we're in a privileged place where we have the ability to influence another person's experience, change the way they view something just by the way we present it to them. I know that in my personal experience, just having a bad morning or not having enough sleep the night before can instantly change the way that I present a lesson, which is definitely going to impact the experience that students have when they're receiving content and making sense of new information. When we are burnt out, we're putting ourselves on the back burner. We're not prioritizing our experience, and it makes it much more difficult to prioritize anyone else's experience. I can tell that kids don't like school anymore because they perceive it as a place that's unsafe, a place that they're not going to be respected for who they are, a place where their bodies are in danger. And I can absolutely relate to all of those things, especially as a Black woman in schools and in the education system. I think I go from at times like the class pet in my workplace to the workplace threat. There's no really middle ground.
A lack of teachers could have serious consequences on a generation of kids. It also reflects an ongoing battle for gender equality in the workforce and highlights how the US values female-driven industries like teaching or nursing. And as women abandon teaching roles in search of a better job, the situation is set to worsen.
I'm leaving teaching because it's no longer a space where I feel like I can do my job freely. It's heartbreaking and scary to me because I know that the classroom is a very powerful place to be. Right now in 2022, I moved to Mérida, Mexico, which is a sister city to my hometown, New Orleans, Louisiana. I specifically chose Mexico because Mexico is a place where I can continue to learn and grow. The labor that women of color give has never been compensated properly. So I want to be the person in my line that breaks that curse so that our creativity is seen and valued for what it is, and it's compensated accurately. Because we have put in everything that we have, a lot of us, and it's not okay that we're leaving an industry without much. But what we can leave with is knowing that our impact has done something wonderful for the world, and that all of that impact is going to come back to us 100-fold as long as we continue to take care of ourselves.